Welcome to Indie Game Month Day 15. Today we are going to create Castle Story. So far I made a few remodels of indie game characters I created in the past. This is the castle from Castle Story I made, and I feel like there wasn't really too much to add to the castle itself, so instead I'm going to create a whole nother scene that can be attached to it. The first time we created the good guys, so now we are going to create the bad guys. The only brown clay I had for the base layer is really old and dried out, so I'm going to be using the arbor press to make it nice and soft. This is a pretty new tool that I have, and it's very interesting to cats. It basically just creates a lot of pressure and helps soften up the clay much faster than you could with your hands, which saves a whole lot of unneeded pain in your hands. I'm adding all these different sections together until it matches the size of the original. Using a mixture of my finger and tools, we can blend together these pieces. They don't have to be perfect, however, because we're going to be covering it up with some grass. I'm not sure why, but this is always one of my favorite things to do when I'm creating a map or a landscape. I just love trimming off this excess clay. Now, I've never created a rock monster before, so I came up with two different ways to do it, and you can be the judge of which one was better. But personally, I like the second version more. So I just created all of these rocks, which took a very long time, and started piecing them together into our little rock monster. The first version is much more complex and has a lot more rocks to it, which could be good or bad. The main problem with it is that I built it on the table, so it's very flat on the bottom. After adding some rocks onto the back, we can start working on the head. The head is in multiple different sections, and now we need to create the eyes. On top of this purple, I added a little bit of white to hopefully make it look like it's glowing. Now the second type of rock monster I created was much more simple. I went for very basic limbs and less rocks to build up the body. I also built it off of the table for the most part so that it wouldn't be flat on the back. I did almost the same thing for the head, except I made it 2 levels instead of 3. I think they both turned out really well, but I like the more simple one. But we can still keep this one and use him for something else. Along with the big one, I created 2 small monsters as well. These ones are pretty much the same design, except the face is a bit more complicated. I'm going off of the reference pictures in the game, and I'm not sure what's going on with all of these lines, but it adds some more life and detail into the figure. After these little shoulder pads, we can start putting them onto the base. I decided in the front here to create some little rock piles for some fallen enemies. And this is the original head that I created, and this will work perfect for the destroyed rock monsters. Let's get the big one into a more interesting position. And for the little ones, I want them to be holding boulders ready to throw at the castle. We have another fallen rock monster in the front. And something really funny happened with this second one I made. I thought he looked exactly like Squirtle, so I even made him a little shell. Of course, I'm not going to keep this shell on, it was just to demonstrate how much it looks like Squirtle. Let's get him onto the base with his boulder. I thought to make the map a little bit more interesting, we could add in some arrows, especially since the other half of the map has archers. I'm making a bunch of holes where the arrows are going to be, including in the different rock monsters. And now we are ready to get baked. After baking, we have some work to do. Let's take the paint marker and start coloring all of the wires to be brown. I found out there's actually such a thing as brown wires. I wish I would have known this because this took a really long time to paint all of these wires. Let's get these all into place using some super glue. We also have a few in the fallen enemies. Now another very tiny and tedious step is to create the little feathers that are on the arrows. I'm using just some basic red paper for this. Very carefully with tweezers and super glue, I attached all of the feathers onto the arrows. A lot of times they didn't stick very well, so I ended up taking the arrow shaft out, building the arrows, and then putting the arrows back into the base. Now that we're done with the arrows, it is complete. Here it is, the Castle Story expansion. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Make sure to check out the playlist at the end, which is updated every day with a new indie game character. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.